time and that we have enough time for questions at the end. Just some housekeeping tips. This meeting will be recorded, so if you don't want to be on camera, that's totally okay. You can just turn your camera off and you won't have to be in the video. Next, make sure you keep muted so that way we don't have a lot of interference and hopefully the call goes smoother that way. As well as the question portion, which will be at the very end, just to make sure all of our speakers have their time. We can put those questions in the chat and we will make sure to address those at the end with that allotted time. And another big announcement is that Fair Trade Campaigns and Fair Trade USA are partnering with a big giveaway. This will be to promote fair trade coffee, and you have the chance to win 6 months of fair trade coffee, which is really crazy. And you can head to our Instagram for more information on how to enter that. And hopefully one of you can be a winner of 6 months of free coffee, which is pretty awesome. So let me just keep it short. I will introduce our first speaker, who is Andrés. Andrés is the coffee program coordinator for producer services at Fair Trade USA, where he works as a liaison between producers and companies in the US market. He is based in Costa Rica, where he was born and raised by his coffee producing family. He is passionate about social and environmental sustainability in the food and beverage industry, especially in coffee, and believes that fair trade plays a fundamental role for the well-being of coffee producing communities. So I will kick it off to Andrés and we can get started.
Well, hi everyone. It's very nice to be here. Welcome everyone. I'm going to share my screen for my presentation to start. And let me know if you hear everything and if it's all well. So yeah, we are here gathered to celebrate a great day, which is the International Coffee Day. So congrats to all coffee lovers that are joining us and sustainability, ethical consumers of coffee. So yeah, let's start. As we all know, or most of us love coffee, right? We all love coffee. Here are some small facts that I prepared for you, and one of the most one of the ones that I want to share with you is that the world drinks over 2 billion cups of coffee a day, and that means that coffee is one of the most important beverages in our daily lives. So the decisions we make every day on what coffee are we drinking are going to create a lot of impact in the world, because 70% of the world's coffee comes from an estimated 20 to 25 million small family farmers. And what does this mean? Well, small farmers have around from 4 to 10 football fields in size, right? So that this may seem like a lot, like 4 or 10 football fields, but it's nothing compared to the amount of land that huge companies have. So these small family farmers depend entirely on coffee, or most of them depend entirely on coffee as their main income. And these coffee producing families live in very specific regions of the world: Central America, Africa, Asia, and these small families turn into coffee producing communities in which they have a lot of needs as a community: health, education, transport, a lot of things as a regular community. The thing is, coffee is living a crisis right now. So that's why we have to be mindful of the decisions we make at the time of buying coffee. What does the coffee crisis mean right now? Well, to get started, 5 companies trade around 25% of the world's coffee, and 10 companies roast around 30% of world's coffee. So that's a lot of concentration of power and economic power in the coffee industry. And this means that those small farmers that produce 70% of the coffee have little to none power at the time of negotiating prices. And what else happens? Well, price is volatile right now. The price volatility is high. We've been having ups and downs of in the coffee price for a long time already, and this creates a lot of uncertainty for middle and long-term projects in those coffee for those coffee farmers. And yeah, that's one of the biggest problems there is. Also, climate change is making the minimum altitude for Arabica coffee to slowly climb. So whole communities have are being displaced right now. They have to move to higher regions to continue their coffee growing activity. And that obviously comes with a lot of issues and problems. And also, there's a big question right now. Is coffee growing an attractive economic activity for younger generations? In a lot of coffee communities, the ones that are dedicated to coffee growing are already getting older. So the younger people are moving to the city, studying something else, dedicating their lives to something else because coffee is already in a price crisis. So this creates a huge of uncertainty on the future of coffee. Are we still going to be able to source the amount of coffee that we drink every day, those 2 billion cups? So it's very important to make coffee growing a good activity, a sustainable activity, and also to create well-being, to create opportunities for well-being of these communities. And that's where fair trade comes in. The fair trade program is a sustainability certification that provides retailers, traders, and consumers with an assurance that their product comes from farms with the best social and environmental practices, as well as an opportunity to give back to farming communities that grow their products. So our certification and the whole movement of fair trade supports safe working conditions, protection of the planet, advancement and well-being of the people, and also plays a very important role in consumer activation to promote fair trade products, to find better opportunities for them to sell the fair trade coffee in shelves, right, in supermarkets and coffee shops, etc. Besides complying with the standards as a farmer, if you have to comply with the fair trade standard to be fair trade certified, well, besides that, the fair trade system brings a lot of benefits to the table in the supply chain. One of many is that as there are a lot of small farmers, fair trade helps these farmers to be together, to form small farmers organizations, mostly coops, cooperatives, and also small companies. So this is a very important part of fair trade that prevents a lot of power to be concentrated in one person or one company, right? Another thing, and a very important thing, is the fair trade adjustment. This fair trade adjustment is a minimum price that is set for fair trade coffee. So if the coffee price is in a low valley in the moment, you will have to comply with the minimum price if you're buying fair trade coffee, if you're an exporter or importer. And this minimum price is $1.4 per pound for conventional coffee and $1.7 per pound for organic coffee. Um, Also, there's another thing, an extra amount of money that is 20 cents per pound of coffee that is directly injected into community development funds, which these funds are managed by their own workers, the producers, and they decide on how to spend it, mostly in research, to prevent climate change and to create better living conditions for the community as a whole. Also, another cool and good thing of fair trade is that the buyers of fair trade coffee must offer some kind of financing, and this means that once they sign a contract to sell coffee, usually coffee producing small organizations have to will get the money only when they already give it to the or export it to the buyers, and they because of that there's a lot of uncertainty and not a lot of money flow in the whole year, because harvest season comes in specific seasons of the year. So in 1 month of a year you're gonna be receiving a lot of money because it's harvest season, but in the rest of the year you're going to be lacking flow of money. So that's why fair trade helps these coffee producing communities to have, or organizations to have financing. The buyers can pay up to 60% of the order before they get it. So this is a great thing for them. Fair trade, I'm going to present you a little bit of numbers from fair trade. And we were founded, Fair Trade USA was founded in 1998 and impacts over 70 countries in the world across 5 different categories of products. The commodity, or the most important category right now, is coffee. It's the historic one, the first fair trade product that existed, and the one that is traded and sell the most right now. And we have over 1.2 over 1,200 companies that sells fair trade products, and we have created over $295 million of community development funds. And just last year, fair trade certified coffee produced over $29 million in community development funds. So this is great because this is going directly into communities and creating a better life for the producers. Also, a very good thing is that Fair Trade USA is well recognized around the US and is actually approaching the organic seal. For example, you can see some numbers here. I'm not going to read it all, but Fair Trade certified aligns to the personal values of the consumers. There's a lot of awareness of our seal, 63%, and 33 purchase intent. And also there's a lot of loyalty behind the Fair Trade certified seal. Also, what else can I say? 75% of millennials say that fair trade is important to the purchasing decision. So it's great. It's great news for us and for the coffee producing communities, because every day the people drink 2 billion coffee cups, and if the US market and the US consumers are really mindful of their decisions, if fair trade certified is in the top of their mind at the time of buying coffee, this will translate into better living conditions for the coffee producing communities. And I'm going to give you just a glimpse of a couple of fair trade premium fair trade premium projects with these community development funds. For example, there's a very cool project happening in Costa Rica, in my home country, and it is called Casita de la Alegría. This Casita de la Alegría is a free daycare center for immigrant families that travel to Costa Rica for the harvest season. So there's a lot of immigration right now for coffee labor from Panama and Costa Rica and Nicaragua into Costa Rica every harvest season, and a lot of them come for a couple of months and bring their whole families, and they don't have a place to leave their kids while they're working. So this Casita de la Alegría works as prevention of child labor, and also helps them and motivates the workers to come and to have a good time while they work here, to be calm, to be secure that their kids are having a good care with professionals, and this is an initiative that is partially funded by Fair Trade Premium, also by the government and other institutions, but it is a great project for from Fair Trade Premium, from that 20 cents a pound that every exporter or importer pays for fair trade coffee is going to projects such as this. Very good one is a water project in Cauca and Nariño in Colombia, where a lot of around 38 38 water treatment plants have provided drinking water to approximately or almost 3,000 families. That's a huge impact of the fair trade premium, and we take it for granted sometimes in some of the towns that we have drinking water. And these people that live in coffee producing communities, they haven't got water, drinking water in ages, like never. And right now they're getting it thanks to fair trade premium projects. So basically, this is my short presentation, and I just wanted to show you what fair trade coffee does to producers, and why your coffee may be doing a lot of good things for the communities around the world. And yeah, thank you very much. I don't know, questions, are we taking them at the end, right? So thank you for the space, and I hope you liked it.
Thank you, Andres. So yeah, if anyone has questions, you can throw them in the chat and we'll make sure to get to them later. But next, we will move on to our speaker from St. Joseph's University. So Ian is a sophomore at St. Joseph's, where he works as part of SJ Brew's student leadership team. He is passionate about the issue of global inequality and believes universities should serve an integral role in the fair trade movement. Ian was a part of SJU's 2021 Summer Scholars Program, where he was able to further investigate the market for fair trade coffee through working for SJ Brew. And another little tidbit is that SJ Brew is giving away a bag of coffee and a mug to one viewer today. So we will randomly select someone who has attended this meeting, and we will send you an email. So stay tuned for that, but I will give the floor over to Ian.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen in a sec. First, I just wanted to start off, say thank you so much, Andres, for your presentation. I thought the last thing that you were talking about the how millennials especially are seeing a lot of loyalty to the fair trade brand very much applies to what I'm going to be talking about. I know with my generation, I guess I consider myself Gen Z more, but that number will only continue to go up, I hope. So with that, let me see if I can share my screen real quick. Right. I apologize, just one sec. I got a new computer recently and I have to, there we go. That should work. All right. That look good? All right, good. So I'm going to be talking about fair trade coffee, the role of universities specifically in fair trade, of course, from my perspective as a student worker at SJ Brew. I'm a part of their leadership team. But to start off, wanted to give a bit about myself in fair trade. So my journey in fair trade at St. Joe's started in my freshman year, actually. Claire Fitzgerald, who I believe is on this call, the student CEO of SJ Brew at the time and the president of the Fair Trade Club, had an excellent pitch to me. She gave me equal exchange chocolate, fair trade chocolate, and I am a huge chocolate fan. So of course I was instantly sold immediately, came to the meetings, ended up really loving it and really loving the mission that we had here. But my awareness of fair trade really goes back to, I think I was around 9 years old. My cousin, for my birthday, bought me a pair of shoes. They're called Inca's World Wear, if you've heard of them. I don't believe they're actually like fair trade certified, but I would consider them part of the ethical consumption movement, in that they use Peruvian textile workers, and they pay a fair wage. They're also involved in environmental services and things like that. And that really led me to, I really like these shoes and I wanted to learn more. So that really, was a formative experience as I learned more throughout middle school, high school, and eventually to college about global inequality. Now today, I'd say that global inequality is really the thing that I really want to study. I'm particularly interested in how societies become more equal and unequal. So from my studies in the history department and also the sociology department, that's really where I put my emphasis. And fair trade is really one of the ways that shows, how cultures address equality and inequality on a global scale. So to continue with that, I guess I'll get into a bit on what we do here at SJ Brew. So SJ Brew is a nonprofit student-run coffee company based out of St. Joseph's University. It was launched in February of 2021 after years of preparation. It was actually started by students inspired by a Latin American study tour to see coffee farmers. And it is sold online through the SJU Sociology website. We've had a lot of success with campus events as well, both ones that we've organized and ones that we've collaborated with other groups on campus, like our Green Fund, our environmental fund on campus, and just student activities in general. I believe we have another one on Thursday that combines a bunch of different coffee groups on campus. And so interesting things there. We also have deals with a lot of the vendors on campus, and we are always looking to expand those opportunities as well, but we've had a lot of success there as well. It's currently on sale for $10. We are shipping all throughout the United States, so you can use the code SummerBrew at checkout. I just thought I'd plug that real quick. So what I really want to talk about is how SJ Brew benefits the fair trade movement. In my Summer Scholars Project this year, this was really what I wanted to prove, what I wanted to highlight, is why SJ Brew in particular has benefits within the university community that is better than just seeing St. Joseph's University buy more of an already established fair trade brand, which would be great, but we do like what we do here too, So from a business perspective, I guess to start off, these are a little more simple, is that it provides unique hands-on experiences for students learning about the market. We're a university, we want to inspire people through, those opportunities. And we feel that that is a great way to get people hands-on experience. I was able to get hands-on experience. Many of my peers have been able to. It's just, it's a very interesting opportunity at St. Joe's. And also from that, part of our mission is our profits, 100% of our profits go to raising funds for students on Pell Grants to attend fair trade study tours to Latin America. So it continues to give back, inspire new leaders of the fair trade movement, because the fair trade is very much reliant on those leaders and those young inspired leaders. We need to continue to grow those and provide them with opportunities to, want to become part of the fair trade movement. And as we know, SJ Brew started from these study tours, so we continue to invest from that. But the one that's most fascinating to me, the idea that really fascinated me on my Summer Scholars Project, was from a marketing perspective of SJ Brew. And this idea was about early middle of the summer. And I was listening to a podcast, the 10% Happier podcast with Dan Harris. If any of you have heard of it, I am a runner, so I listen to that podcast a lot on my runs. And there was a psychology researcher on compassion and happiness at the University of Berkeley. who was on the podcast for that day, and she brought up a very interesting idea, what is called compassion collapse. And according to the study, you can read the quote here, but you would think that if in this study, people are shown pictures of one person suffering, two people suffering, 5, 100, 500, you would think that the need for empathy in those situations when 500 people are suffering is more than one person suffering, right? So you would think that empathy levels, compassion levels, they would go up. You would see more people suffering and need more to give to help. Unfortunately for us as humanity, in those situations, compassion actually goes down among people throughout this study when you go from 1 to 2 to 500. And this is a particularly big issue with fair trade. I was thinking about this all day because fair trade, there we go. I skipped a slide, but it just said basically that fair trade is massive. Global inequality is massive. Hundreds of millions of people are benefiting from fair trade. Hundreds of millions of people are suffering from global poverty that fair trade aims to annihilate. This is a massive issue, an incredibly overwhelming issue to many consumers who are just looking for things on their coffee shelves, things like that. But SJ Brew combats this, and there's a few reasons why. First of all, the two-pronged approach to humanitarianism, as I like to call it, in that we combine local and global causes. We make the local causes more intimate, where it's students on Pell Grants who would benefit from study tours, and combine that with the global idea of many people suffering as well. And that said, we're able to sort of convince people that otherwise wouldn't be involved in the fair trade movement to stir up a little more compassion as well. And with that in mind, you can also buy SJ Brew directly from someone who benefits. One of the things about fair trade that I've thought of as like a critique to it that goes in line with this is that you can't purchase like fair trade coffee directly from the producer in most cases, because they are continents or hundreds of thousands of miles away. And there's a benefit in sort of like a farmer's market sort of activity in like in my experience. I don't know, I've always enjoyed like a farmer's market, things like that, where you can see the producer specifically. But at least with SJ Brew, you can purchase directly from someone who benefits, or who may have a friend who benefits, someone like that, because it's all student run. It's all run by students who are supporting their peers, or are the ones on Pell Grants who are looking for study tours and looking to benefit fair trade. And from a marketing perspective as well, it's also solidarity with the university brands, which is similar. But the thing that I sort of brought up with this, it brings me back to sort of the end of my summer scholars project. And this was my moment of, it was an aggravating moment for me as someone that's so passionate about fair trade and just spent months just studying this thing. Is my cousin, the exact cousin that, around 10 years ago, bought me these, the shoes that I, got me into fair trade, things like that. I was talking with him. He's currently a student at the Made Institute in Philadelphia for fashion. He's doing wonderful work in producing like ethical streetwear, using environmental, recycled bottles and things like that, trying to make durable clothing that you can, buy once and have forever. Very, very interesting things that I'm also like very supportive of. And I asked him, and I thought this was a fair question because, he's studying fashion, things like that. And I asked him, so like, I know like with recycled bottles, like you wouldn't really have a need for fair trade, but like, have you studied that at all or thought about fair trade at all? And his answer, unfortunately, was, "What's that?" And I was taken aback a bit. Like I didn't show it, but I was taken aback with it because he was the one that inspired me to support fair trade and things like that. And then I realized that fair trade is still reliant on people that don't know what it is. Even though we're getting so much better at that brand recognition, as Andrés showed us about in comparison to the organic seals and things like that, we still do have a long way to go, and we're still reliant on people who don't know what fair trade is, but still, maybe have other ideas of ethical consumption, maybe environmental issues, things like that, and still support the movement even without knowing it. People support St. Joseph's University. People support any university. This can be replicated at Temple, Drexel, Villanova, Harvard, any place in the country can have this. they have millions of dollars of endowment. People always, support them. So we can channel that support to fair trade as well, indirectly. So with all of that in mind, I pretty much produced my idea that this can and should be replicated at every university. Our movement would grow incredibly stronger in leaders and participants if every college program had a program like SJ Brew. So throughout, luckily I have a lot of time in college left. I have a lot of time to, continue to be a part of SJ Brew and even reach out and do conferences like this. And that's part of my mission over the next 2 years and well beyond that. So with that, thank you. I know we're doing a Q&A after this, so I'm very excited for that. You're also feel free to email me questions afterwards. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it and look forward to our next speaker.
Thank you so much for that, Ian. That was really great. Hopefully you will inspire some other campaigns. It'd be super cool to see it happen on other universities. So great to have you on the call. The next speaker is Luis. Luis is the general manager of the Cooperative of Coffee Growers from Anserma, Colombia. Since he began in this new role in 2016, he's been looking to promote the coffee of Anserma for its high quality, its beautiful coffee landscapes, and the warmth of their coffee growers, looking for the welfare of over 2,000 members of the cooperative. So I will give it over to Luis and he will tell you more.
Well, thank you. Hi to everybody. Well, I want to share what we do with the premium of fair trade and our cooperative, one of our most important projects. I don't know if somebody's gonna share the presentation. Okay, there you go. Okay, so we are fair trade certified since 2006. And we have promoted a lot of projects in the cooperative. But in 2018, we were looking for a bigger project with more impact. And we were looking for climate change. Well, but I think we're sharing the one in Spanish. Do you think, Andres, you have the other one? The one I shared this week?
Let me confirm. I think this is the one you shared.
No, that's the one I shared in the CCC group. Okay, but in the meantime, so we were looking like to have a program to climate change resilience and how to preserve the water, because coffee uses a lot of water in the traditional way of produce the coffee, and also water get contaminated a lot with the honey that the coffee that we have to take from the coffee away. The water gets very contaminated and without a lot of oxygen. So we were looking for an area in the cooperative. We choose 5 villages that had a lot of problems with water, because people on the top of the hills, they were contaminated a lot, the water, and people on the downside, even though they have water, they couldn't use it. They said that they couldn't even had a shower with it because it was very polluted and it was like sticky and smelly, especially at the crop. So we decided to go with this project with an importer from Canada that is RGC, that has a lot of sustainability projects that works with fair trade a long time ago. And we established this program. So the program has 4, will help, but it has like 4 pillars. One of those is the soil conservation. The other one is the water conservation. Okay, I think it's the same.
Este,
Well,
pero
the forest.
está
It's like
mezcladita.
mixed. Okay,
Sí.
okay. Okay, it's a bit there. So it works with the community, water, soil, and forest. So why community? Because even though the most important, one of the most important things to be sustainable is like having the infrastructure to clear that water that is used, or to change the wet mill in order to use less water. The important thing is the community, because you have to have a tight community so they work together, they understand the impact that they have when they use the water, the impact that it has in the neighbors. Also to do not cut the forest, because it will affect the water that the neighbors will have in the future. So we did a lot of activities trying to tie the community to work together, to understand the impact of their actions, and also building infrastructure in the farms so they can be more sustainable. One thing I want to share is that most of the people are interested in sustainability and in social sustainability, but also in environmental sustainability. And usually we see other certifications more focus on environmental sustainability. And that's true, because fair trade focus more on people, and because they know that those 20 million families that Andrés shared have a lot of needs, and you can't be, you first try to be good with yourself and your family, and then you can think in the environmental. So fair trade standards are not very strict with the environmental, because they know that there's a lack of infrastructure and that people can't afford it. So other certifications are very strict, but they don't take into account that it's very expensive for the grower to do that, and they are not making a wage of living enough, so it's hard to them. But usually the farmers get the infrastructure with fair trade. With the premium that we got in the co-op, we invest in the farms of them so they can have honey water infrastructure, to clean it, and to have reforestate their farm. And because of fair trade, then they can apply to other certification. So this project is aiming for mostly environmental sustainability, and I'm gonna show you what have we invested in these 3 years for them. So next, please. So this is the 5 villages that we were talking about. So the ones on the right are like in the top of the hills, and the other 2 on the left are in the down part of the hills. So the green points are farms that are members of the co-op, and the yellow ones are other coffee growers. So around 35-38% are members at the beginning of the project. So even though they are not members, they are getting a benefit because of the premium indirectly, because if their neighbors that are cooperative members are less, are producing less contamination to the water, they can get better water for their farms and their families. Next, please. Yeah, it was like mixed. Okay, so there's 81 septic tanks. That's for the water of the house. 69 honey water systems to clean the water that gets from the wet mill. Also 50 5 honey waters with a tank top. That it's something that it makes easier to clean the coffee. So less water has to be used. 90 compost areas, because usually, I mean, if they don't have the infrastructure, they just throw it to the water creeks. Next. 130 biological beds. That is for take the leftovers of the agrochemicals, of course, all permitted by the certification. Green filters, that is for the last part of the water from the honey processes. So it's like weeds that takes the last part of the water and process them. 35 improvements of the benefit tanks. 117 soil analysis, because also we want to take care of the soil in the project. Also to have little like bushes between the coffee trees, because there's a lot of deforestation. And when it rains a lot, the soil just runs down the hill, and they are losing all the nutrients from the soil. Next. So for those soil analyses, we have the machines to have them, 2 per villages. Also, there's something that was not thought at the beginning of the project, but then we saw that was very important for the coffee growers. There are 47 ecological stops. It's to burn the wood, but they are more efficient, so they have to take less trees. So it's good for to not deforestate. Also in coffee, it's normal to cut the trees every 5 years in order to renew all the trees, and they save this wood for these ecological stops. Usually, the kitchens are like inside the house, and they have a lot of smoke, so it's very bad for the health of the family, especially for women that are the ones that usually cooks at home. So it also helps them, because it has a chimney, so the smoke doesn't get into the house. So it's like a very special project, also because it gets their houses more beautiful, and they are usually very happy when they got these kitchens. Usually the members got a lot of projects, different things from the co-op, but in this special project, and every time family gets one, they send a picture to the WhatsApp chat that we have with the members, and they said thank you to the cooperative for my beautiful kitchen. So we like that part because of that, because it's like a very whole impact into the family. Well, also 106 water filters, because even though the water is getting better, they need a little push to be drinkable. We also invested in 6 EcoMood systems. It's a new systems that uses way less water. A traditional wet mill for coffee consumes around 40 liters per arroba or parchment. Arroba is 12.5 kilograms of coffee. With these machines, they uses less than 1 liter. So it's 40 times less water to produce the coffee, sorry. And also it's very good for quality, because it let the coffee fermentate first, and then they clean it, but with friction, not water. Next, please. So 6 village water supply. Usually the families get the water from the creek, but it doesn't have a place like to clean it a little bit, or to a storage, so the flood goes strongly to the houses. So we made this water supply for around 5 or 6 families, and they have now more fluent service to their home. I'm gonna share maybe later a link to a video to see how this village water supply works. Also, we have 3 demonstrative wet mill, but regular wet mill with the tank top, and also using gravity, because usually wet mills uses a lot of water because they move the cherry with water instead of gravity. That it's the new wet mill that we are building. Next. And also a very important part for the project is reforestation. It's interesting that even though the project it's only focusing on the trees that we are going to plant, we also have another project with women, because they are working in groups in the 5 different municipalities that the co-op buys coffee. A municipality is like like a town, like 5 towns, and they have some nursery places to grow the trees, and they sell those trees. So the project is buying the trees to them. So even though the idea was not to gender equality project, it helps that project. And also we're planting with the schools that are in the area, trying to get the young people conscious on the importance of planting, reforestate the creek, and to conserve water. Next. Yeah, there's some of the activities that we have with the kids. There's also videos with these activities. Next. Okay, no, that was the video, but maybe I can share the link after. So this is some of the women that are planting in the trees. It's 3 different nursery places. The left is in Risaralda, 1 municipality, Anserma, and Viterbo. Oh, you can go. This is next one is the picture of the Eco Mill. That member, they get into the program, and the program is paying half of the cost of the machinery, because they are very expensive, but with a little push and help, some members had decided to go to this new technology. One important thing to say is that, like going back to the other presentation, that coffee were in crisis because of the price volatility. Right now, the prices are very high. It's very good, but it's because of a lot of problems with the climate. In Brazil, they were a drought, and after that, there were a frost. So prices went up in levels that a lot of people didn't believe they could get there. But also in Colombia and in the area that the co-op buys the coffee, there's been a lot of rain, and flowering was very bad. So production dropped in the first semester around 70%. We only bought 30% of the coffee we usually buy in the first semester. And for the second semester, we are expecting to buy 20% less coffee. So even though prices are very good, they are only like compensating the drop of productivity. That is why this project is very important to us. It's like in a small area, but we want to replicate the project after. But we want like producers to be resilient to all of these changes, all of these rainings, droughts, everything. So we're trying to change the project to move forward, like to a carbon neutral a project, and also to an agroforestal systems and a regenerative regenerativa yeah, regenerate agro systems. That's why we move forward, and in order to contaminate less in the farms, we wanted to move those production to a plant that the cooperative has. So maybe we can go after, please, Andres. You can go forward to the wet mill. Yeah, different pictures of the machinery. Those are the rural supplies. Okay, that's the community wet mill. Next. So with the cherries that we're gonna process, that we estimate that it could be 3 million kilograms of cherry, the water that we are gonna save consuming less water is 23.75 million liters of water. So that's the consumption of around 1,583 families. So that's why it's very important to do that. In Costa Rica, it's very common to have community wet mills, but in Colombia, when you have just 1 hectare, half an hectare, everybody process their own coffee. And that is what is, the impact on the environment is really high, but it's a culture that is hard to change. And also the investing in this type of projects is very high. Next. So this is the plant. The picture on the left is the plant that we have had before. The cooperative of Anserma was the first cooperative to buy in cherries the coffee to the growers, but in 2008, but there were not quality, and it was very efficient in terms of water, but not working like in quality. So the price that we sold the coffee was like less or the same, so it wasn't very sustainable. But then we decided to go to an expansion, but aiming to produce quality coffees, differentiated coffees, and also with fair trade. We saw an opportunity with the Todos al Agua project to finance most of the change of the machinery. And also we invested in solar panels in order to have all the energy that we need to produce in the new plant. The picture on the right is a current one. We are right now assembling all the new machinery where the yellow square is, and we are expecting to run in the new machinery by the end of the year. We are working also in natural coffees, differentiated coffees, and we got an agreement with RGC, the sponsor of the Todos al Agua project, that they committed to buy at least 10 containers per year for 3 years. And the assembly, that are the producers, people that are elected by the producers, 50 delegates to represent them in the assembly. The assembly approved that we can have this like a special fund with the fair trade premium. So we are doing well. And what I want to say is that maybe when you look what fair trade is and you understand what you are supporting, and you see that it's 20 cents that goes to the social fund, and you may think that it's not too much, but with 20 cents, you just saw that we do a lot of things in the co-op. That's what I like about fair trade, because it's like gathering everything, everybody, and trying to have more impact with these special social funds. That is our project Todos al Agua, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So now is the time if anyone wants to unmute and ask a question, or you can throw it in the chat. We have about 5 minutes left of the scheduled time, so ask away.
Hi, I have a question for Luis Miguel.
Yes.
Luis Miguel, when you were trying to convince members of the cooperative to participate in fair trade, or other farmers, what is the challenge for you in trying to convince them, and how has that been for you?
What do you mean for this project?
Yeah, and in general,
Yeah.
like about the fair trade, telling them that it's worth it, the benefit.
Okay, well, actually, I'm the co-op since 2016, and the cooperative was in fair trade since 2005, I think. What was the challenge was that when we wanted to get this new project, Todos al Agua, the assembly has to approve that the premium of this project only went to some villages, not to everybody, because usually, I mean, the idea is that the premium is invested in everyone. So the challenge was to tell them that we wanted to do this because we wanted to focus the impact and to try to show the buyers that are supporting fair trade, and fair trade really can do something important for environment, because we were doing what we are going to do in this area. We were doing all around the farms in the cooperative, but the idea was to clean just one creek. So what I tell them is that it was like fair trade 2.0, because we wanted to like focus in special projects, and like the presentation we just had, when you focus like in someone, maybe it's better to get the attention of the buyers or people that are buying fair trade, and I mean the importers. So what I tell them is, I'm not telling you like we have a cake of fair trade premium and we need to cut some to give it to just some of the growers. We want to increase this cake so everybody has a bigger piece. And also, if we get this new project, people in that area won't have the benefit of their regular fair trade fund. And lucky for me, after the first year of the Todos al Agua project, the general fair trade fund grew like 20%, and the Todos al Agua project was like 30% of the, comparing to all of the fair trade premium. So it was very good for us. And they believe that we can grow in fair trade.
Thank you so much.
Yep, Nicolas, you can go.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, it's great to be here sharing these thoughts about how can we have a more sustainable world. So I have a question for Andrés or any other from fair trade. That one of the things that I really like fair trade, it's the way that you see the world and try to make those changes. And the thing that I don't like much is like, as consumers, we can't be there. So it's a lot of certifications running around. So you must be able to trust someone that goes to the farms. So are you looking to develop any more digital experience so consumer will be able to understand the true impact behind each cup of coffee or other materials that you're working on?
Thanks, Nicolas, for this question. It's a very good question, and actually last year we launched a new platform. It's called the Partner Portal, and it has some operational functionality about transaction reporting, traceability that we need to do internally between our partners, producers, importers, exporters, but also has a general facing part of the platform, and it basically basically consists in it's almost like social media for coffee organizations, and this platform you can go and search for organizations. For example, Cooperativa Anserma has a really good profile with the projects, with the description, with social media, and it is aimed to mainly connect producers with buyers, but also to face to the general public the impact that fair trade is doing in their communities. But it's definitely a challenge that we are trying to address, and I'm going to share the link in the chat right away. But it's definitely a challenge that trust, that you're telling, trust for the consumer, to trust the system. And that's why we are always working on traceability, on transparency in the supply chain, and in ways to communicate it better, to communicate this in a better way. But it is definitely something that we already started working on. Last year we launched this platform, and we are aiming to continue developing it and make it a much enjoyable, a much better or much enjoyable experience for the consumer and for the partners in the supply chain. So I'm going to share it in the chat so you can look it up. That's a video from Luis Miguel, but it is a challenge as well for us to make or to convince the coffee organizations to continue to update their profile and to upload better pictures and better impact stories every day or every now and then. So it is obviously in the works. It's definitely challenging, but it's already an opportunity and an initiative that we already are starting to work on. So thank you, Nicolas.
So I have a follow-up question straight up on that. So are you using or plan to use any technology such as blockchain? That is something that is very trendy right now in order to create that digital trust that because basically at the first mile you have someone that manually do something and checks that up, but we are working on something very, very simple, that people collect data with their phones, and with a digital ID you can trace the whole journey with the companies, producers, and anyone in between. So anyone or any idea going on that direction? And thank you for your replies.
Thanks, Nicolas, for the follow-up question. This is, I think we have not explored yet the opportunities of blockchain in this, but it's a great idea. I am going to bring it up with my colleagues. But it's a great idea, and we are always looking to find better ways to be more transparent and to have better traceability. It would be awesome for the consumers to scan a QR code in their coffee bag or in their coffee mug, and just see the producers that are behind the coffee that they're drinking. So it's a great challenge, but it is definitely something we are looking to get better in the future.
Well, I want to say about the first question. When I get to the COP, I saw that we were investing in a lot of things, but we weren't sharing that to the consumers and also to the fair trade buyers. So I heard a lot of buyers saying, I've been buying fair trade coffee for 10 years and I have no idea how the cooperative is investing the coffee, or I ask for information and they send the same picture of the same grower in the same farm, like without developing, without getting better. So what is the impact? So there we decided to go with a team of communication to make the videos. They are also making a series of programs it's called like the producer of the week. So they tell their story, how they became coffee growers, and it's very, very nice, that project. Also to In Todos al Agua, making all the videos of the reforestation or the new machinery of how to use less water in the wet mill. So we know that it's a very important part. And also this team is financed by the Fair Trade Premium. Every year we ask the assembly to take some money for this, to pay the 2 employees that we have in the area and to buy the cameras, because we know it's very important. The producers know what they are supporting. And also about the blockchain is very nice. I don't know how much will it cost, because sometimes we want to invest a lot of people in transparency, but it's maybe more cost than the money that are receiving the producer for the social projects. So what I think is when you go, when you buy directly for a cooperative, you're buying for the producers. 30% of the coffee from Colombia is bought from cooperatives, but 70% are not. It's just middlemen that goes to regular exporters, and that probably they didn't pay taxes, they didn't pay the producers well, they have no traceability. But when you go with a cooperative, and also fair trade is only bought by cooperatives, you can trust that the traceability, the transparency for the grower. So maybe go from the cooperative to the rest will be good for that investment. Because, for example, one container that is just from one cooperative, it could be bought for 300 different coffee growers, because they sell just half a bag or a bag. So it's very small, a lot of transactions.
There's an opportunity as well, and it is the reality of fair trade coffee in the past months and years, is that private coffee labels have been growing a lot. So so supermarket chains investing in their own coffee label, fair trade coffee label, and it is a great opportunity to get better with traceability, because sometimes it's just it's the roaster that buys the fair trade coffee and distributes it to some shops. But if a big retailer is into a private label, this could be a great opportunity to show better the traceability and to spend more in this category or this topic, right? Because it's very important in fair trade coffee, as you say.
All right, so that is all the time we have. Love the questions. We will include all of our presenters' email addresses in our follow-up email if you do want to connect with them and ask any further questions. Just a final reminder to take a look at the giveaway. Don't miss that opportunity, as it is a great one. And thank you to everyone who came and listened, as well as a special thank you to all of our presenters. We will cut that off now, but it was great seeing everyone, and thank you for participating.
Thanks, everyone. It's very nice to meet you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.